Done that earlier.
I know. I didn't see the text until just now.
All right, so all time spent on strike will be counted for the following purposes: seniority, seniority progression, and sick leave vacation eligibility date. All bargaining unit striking employees will be returned to work commencing on first shift, October 25th. And all employees will be returned to the shift, labor grade, and job classification they held on the last day of work prior to the strike. Employees shall be given until beginning of their shift, Thursday, October 31st, to report to work. If someone doesn't report to work on the 31st, they would be considered to have resigned their job.
I put it on the screen too.
Okay. Let's see, number 5. It talks about someone who doesn't return in accordance with number 4. You can put yourself on a preferential hiring list. Hopefully people, if this is accepted, they would come back before that. It does talk about employees who had scheduled vacation prior to the strike. They'll be given priority in vacation scheduling. You can request vacation pay in lieu of time off in accordance with established practices. Employees who were on domestic travel assignment, DTA, prior to strike will continue to receive lease-related lodging allowance. So that covers that lodging during the strike. Number 8, employee group benefits shall be reinstated effective October 24th. For employees who return to work, the company shall return all insurance premiums which have been paid to it. In addition, insurance eligibility shall be considered continuous for all returning employees and their dependents without interruption since September 12th, 2024, and all valid insurance claims will be paid, including those of employees who may have died during the strike. Normal payroll contributions for the month of October will be collected in a future paycheck. Number 9 is protection for members and union officials. No one will receive any corrective action for any activity taking place during the strike, which is very important for our members, not so much for union officials, but for members, that they no disciplinary action could occur. Number 10 is regarding deductions. They won't take out any deductions for MMPL or guide dogs or dues during the strike, or for the employee community fund, credit union deductions, or savings bond contributions. 11, grievances aren't impacted by the strike. So if the grievance was good before, it's still good after. 12, we both pledge that to our best efforts, we'll work to return all operations back to normal. Any payments resulting from changes to base rates, like cost of living adjustments or shift differentials or AOG premiums or team lead or job classification upgrades, any other wage adjustments will be paid on or before December 12th. 14 is one of the big ones that always happens. Both sides agree to withdraw any legal action against the other. We filed charges. You saw the charges they filed against me. All those will be dropped. There are potential individuals that filed charges, and we are forced to give information to the NLRB if asked, but that's all we do there. Let's see. This is grievable if they violate any section of this. And an important provision, number 16, any work transferred during the labor dispute will be returned to the bargaining unit, and the company commits that no bargaining unit member will be displaced or laid off due to any sourcing of bargaining unit work during the strike. And so that's important if the contract is ratified tomorrow. A couple of other things that we had lots of questions on. People were asking about, should they cash out their pension? There is an ability for someone to cash out, your pension. There's no time frame that you have to do that in. And what we're telling people is there is a formula within the provision, but you really need to talk to a financial advisor. I'm not going to give advice on whether you should or shouldn't. It depends on how many years you have in the pension, how old you are, and all those things are something you should talk to your financial advisor, which I am not. Let's see. Did we secure the pension? We did not. We did increase the multiplier for those that have a vested benefit. The vested benefit was $95 a month per year of service, and we secured an increase to that to $105 per year of service, but that didn't reinstate the pension. It didn't add any more years of service. If you don't have a vested pension, it did not solve that for you. And now I'll move into any other questions you want to start reading off, Ed.
Okay, there's some good ones. And so far we got 327 in the queue. So first one, Kelvin, if I was maxed out grade 7 and accepted a grade 9 a month before we went on strike, based on the added language on 6.3, would I get the max grade 9 when the contract gets ratified? That's
well, the new language is about one set of progression in a career. So if somebody was in progression and they then took a promotion, the old contract would be that you'd reset your progression and have to do 6 years over. But now we get to combine progression earned in a lower labor grade with progression earned in a higher labor grade. And so once you reach 12 progression, you max out.
So number one, you max out. Number two, I just want to confirm from what John said yesterday, will the extra sick leave after 1,600 hours of work still apply? That we get 1 hour sick leave per 40 hours work according to the state law?
It does still apply. We still have separate banks or separate vacation and sick leave accrual. And so at the 1,600 hour mark worked after your anniversary date, every member will start to earn 1 hour of sick leave for each 40 hours worked, while they are also at that point earning vacation accrual for the tiers that are defined in our agreement.
Okay, from Kyle Smith, I have 6 years total at the company. I spent 3 years in the factory service, 2 in grade 3 and 1 in grade 8, where I currently am. If the contract is ratified, will I be maxed at my current grade 8?
As long as the progression you earned in all of those labor grades satisfies the 12 progression, then yes.
Okay, Nicolo. There was an example sent to our email from the union that this offer has a GWI compound. I would like to know if the first offer did the same. If that is the case, using the example, isn't the increase between the first and current offer still just about 10% after 4 years? I believe the strike will and should continue after tomorrow's vote. Our labor is skilled and valuable. Will you stress the importance for a pension, the removal of mandatory overtime, and more PTO? Overworked employees contribute to quality issues and increased safety risks. These are aspects Boeing claims they wish to improve. Without these, the pension, this offer falls far too short.
Yes, the first offer at 25% did compound. That was 11,446, and it did compound. So the compounded rate was higher, just like this rate is higher. I don't remember what the compounded rate was on the 25%, but basically we got 10% more in general wage increase.
Okay. Indra, how will layoffs affect us? Is there a list of seniority per job code on the IAM site?
Our stewards have seniority rosters. We make seniority rosters available, and I have no information on layoffs. I will say that's a very short-sighted effort on the Boeing company, if they do, but I have no knowledge of what the decisions they're going to make. The decisions they've announced are for white-collar workers, salaried workers, but they need the IAM to increase production. Without us, there's nothing. So, but I don't have information on what they intend to do.
Okay, from Stephen, why weren't electricians moved up a job level, but plumbers and HVAC did?
We proposed roughly 30 increase or 30 jobs to be increased in labor grade. And we've made headway on some of them. We did not make headway on the C2009, not because you didn't deserve it. Many others deserved it as well, and we didn't get there.
Richard, when would medical coverage restart after a contract is ratified?
It'll be reinstated on October 24th, but it will, based on our strike settlement agreement, it'll go back to September 12th. And all premiums that anyone paid, like to cover a COBRA, and any claims that as people went to the doctor would be paid.
Renee, have there been efforts to increase the minimum wages to a living wage?
We absolutely proposed higher minimum rates. We did achieve increases to the minimum rates, but not as high as we had tried for.
And also the COLA now is going to be going on to the minimum rates
Thank you.
if it's passed. Bob, where's the voting in Moses Lake going to be? We have heard nothing yet.
We're still trying to nail down a location at Moses Lake. We will get that done. Rest assured, Steve Warren, our business rep over there, was trying to get the location settled, but we'll have that out as soon as possible.
Brian, the email sent by the union 1019 and 1020 included an attachment for the wage increase and AMP payments. The per year total calculations on the wages are misleading. For example, the total wage increase over the life of the agreement for a grade 7 is 38K, not 100K, as stated in the document. This is very misleading for members reviewing the document for a vote tomorrow. Please clarify.
It was absolutely accurate information. That's what I owe you. And, you know, when we put out the compounded wages for someone over 4 years, that's at max pay, that's what they would earn. We also put out, for, you know, examples for people in progression where, you know, in progression, it's not going to be as high, but for those in max pay, that was accurate.
From Dylan, I know I'm early, but I'm very curious why SST hadn't gotten the attention for having a new job code as a grade 6, allowing us to do work in any job code as needed, being up to grade 9 and travel work.
We attempted to get higher than the grade 6. That's all they were willing to do. So it does provide an upgrade for those in SST that were a grade 5 up to grade 6, but it didn't move anyone else.
Seth, if ratified, when does insurance coverage start?
October 24th, it's reinstated, but it goes all the way back to September 12th.
Was the new offer actually bargained with the union? Seems too much of a coincidence right after Seattle rally.
We didn't have any date set when we did the Seattle rally. The Department of Labor, Secretary of Labor Julie Sue came in and began talking to both sides. It was indirect talks, and it was that effort that new offer was broken loose. But we didn't even have any dates when we did the rally.
Michelle, please define career when talking about progressions. Do they use seniority or do they use company service time?
Well, progression is about seniority. Seniority progression increases is what progression is built on. And it's really about periods of time. So each seniority progression increase is a 6-month period of time. And when you complete 12 seniority progression increases, which equals 6 years, then you go to max pay.
Deirdre just brought me in the address that Moses Lakes was a Grant County Fairgrounds. 3953. So we'll probably put that out in the daily update, I guess.
Well, go ahead and read it if you've got it.
Yeah, she says it's Moses Lake, Grant County Fairgrounds. I think that's where they had it last time. 3953. Can't read her friggin' writing. Airway Drive Northeast. ATT building, 8 to 5.
4H building.
4H building. Okay. Well,
And because we can't read that very clearly, we will make sure that gets out in the email. Okay.
it's crazy. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, Joshua, did you guys talk about 6 doing 8 work?
Are we talking about a 75506 tool maker doing grade 8 work? What's classification? Do we know? I'll need clarification. I can't speak to that without knowing. Go ahead. Move to the next one.
Yeah, maybe Dee can go farther down in the Q&A and see if he answers. Okay, Jason, since I have 2 years seniority, I just took an upgrade 1 month prior to strike. How does that affect my progression? Do I get to keep my 2 years so I only have 4 left to max out, or am I still resetting?
You get to keep the 2 years and they count towards one set of progression in a career. So because of the new agreement, if it's accepted, you would get to count that progression in a lower grade with the progression earned in a higher grade.
Stephen, can we also weed out the numerous questions that were asked over and over? Better moderation, please, and thank you. All right, they are on it, except for that one. Brandon, is the 12% and COLA given on top of where you left off prior to strike? I am over the new minimum for labor grade 6.
So the COLA was already on your check. It was the June wage card, June 2024 wage card. That's 44 cents. So that's applied to the base rate, whether you're at max or in progression. So that 44 cents becomes part of your base, and then the 12% is applied after that.
Aaron, is the chat going to be live or just the Q&A? Just the Q&A. Stephen, hi John, I have a question. Is the company going to cover COBRA costs? I already answered that.
Yes.
Heather, hey, I have a quick question. Okay. Harold, increase the Boeing percentage into the SCRC and match to 10%. Keep the 5K they want to add on this contract. AMP 4% guarantee is nice. Our signing bonus, larger initial percentage. Just me. What's up, Ed? Tony, can you answer the Q&A left over from yesterday, please? There's too many. Kendra, thanks for you guys bargaining and hosting these Zooms. Patrick, there is a massive issue in the specifics of the current offer that is going to provide a major roadblock in facilities maintenance and machine tools. HVAC was increased to grade 10, while industrial maintenance mechanics and electricians were left at grade 9. Based on how the job descriptions are written, it makes them incompatible with the proposed new contract. In summary, no major ventilation work will be able to be completed based on the now conflicting verbiage. Certain machine operators are grade 11, while technicians are grade 10. And mechanics, electricians are grade 9. These job codes are expected to maintain and repair these machines, but technically are not allowed to, because that would involve operation of the machine, and they are not grade 11. My question for you is still summarized. Would you be willing to discuss possible solutions, potential major issues? I am willing and available for contact. Here's my information.
Yeah, capture that information. I can't see it. Absolutely willing to talk about it. I can't change anything before tomorrow's vote, and maybe we can talk about it after.
Okay, so you guys can't see the Q&As, both Deirdre and you?
I can't see those that were loaded. I caught it somewhere in the middle of the list.
Okay. Moving on. Michael, John, many members are addressing online concerns that members that took temporary employment may not be able to reach the polls during the allotted time. Can the vote time be extended to make sure all brothers and sisters can vote and be heard?
I can't extend the time frame. You know, we aren't dealing with shift work, and I understand people might have gotten jobs. I just encourage you, get over to one of the areas between 8 and 5. Now, we'll hold the polls open if we have a line. Everyone that's there will have the right to vote. But we also don't have enough volunteers. We don't have enough volunteers willing to help. And, you know, our elections or our contract votes are performed by our membership, by volunteers. And so we had to condense the timeframes, 8 to 5. We'll hold them open as long as we can, as long as people are in line, but people got to get there. And bring your badge to be scanned. We could not send out eligibility cards because it wouldn't get there in the mail, but you know, you will be checked for ID. Having your badge helps us scan and check eligibility and help the line move quickly. But we have everyone's eligibility in our computer system, but you will be checked.
Okay, Sanjesh, can we get pension from the union since Boeing won't give our pension back?
A pension is only something that we can negotiate, that the employer is responsible to pay. And they wouldn't budge on the pension issue. And so the answer is no, you can't get a pension just from the union.
If Franklin, I just want to say a heartfelt thank you to the negotiating team for their hard work and efforts. Kyler, I am new, but if Boeing refuses to give us pension, what is the catch of the international creating a trust pension that we can be vested into after 5 years like the International Operator Engineers Union has? We pay a decent amount in dues and I have no idea where all that yearly money goes.
Well, the dues money doesn't go to provide benefits. It goes to provide services. It pays salaries. It pays for real estate. It pays for legal fees, arbitration, and all the costs of the union. But it's not the amount that could be used for a pension. Now, if we do have an IAM national pension plan, but you have to negotiate that in with the employer. It's a multi-employer plan, just like many other unions have, but you have to get the employer committed to making the contribution and be responsible for withdrawal liability and potential rehabilitation. And if they won't, sign on to that, it's not something that the union can pay. There is not enough money out of dues that could ever afford that.
Okay. Scott, can we get paid for SI and A certs or do away with them altogether?
No, there's no way for us at this time to get paid for SI and A certs.
Alfred, so I asked the other day, is the current offer the same as SS, the last, except for the 105 pension and the 35% pay increase?
Well, the wages are higher. The AMP is restored with 4% minimum. The ratification bonus is 7,000 instead of 3,000. There's a $5,000 contribution into the 401k that was not there before. The multiplier on those that have a vested pension benefit from the BSERP is increased to 105 from 95. I think I got everything.
Hey, Cortez, why isn't it recommended if we should take the contract or not? It was recommended in the past. Why not this time?
We recommended the first agreement to get it up to the level it was at, and that was to get them off of 18% to 25% to try and get the next airplane program, to get the one set of progression in a career, to get the reduction in the designated overtime, to get the reduction in the cost share from 16% to 15%. It was all in the last 5 hours. We had to recommend it to bring it to that level, and we did, and we put it in our members' hands. Going through this, the company gave us an improved offer on September 23rd, but they immediately went to the media. It wasn't negotiated. They wouldn't accept any discussion, any counter proposals. It might have been an opportunity for us to bargain more, but they refused. So we refused to bring it to the members. That brings us to, a couple rounds of mediated talks that failed, where the company walked away both times and then withdrew everything. Department of Labor got involved and broke some, got some traction, got them to increase their pay. And but I said to the company, we would not recommend it at this point if they didn't give the defined benefit pension. They didn't, so we're not recommending it. I'm also not recommending you reject it. It's there's a lot of positive things. It does some good things. It doesn't do everything that everyone wanted. It was worthy of your consideration, and so I placed it in front of the membership, and it's your decision. That's the power of our union.
So you already answered this, but it might be worth repeating. Is Boeing going to lay us off after the strike?
I don't have any information about that, but I will tell you that they need us to increase rates. And without us, you can't increase the rates, you can't improve the quality, and you can't bring this company out of financial distress. So every path to success comes through the IAM. So they need us, but I have no information on what they're going to do.
I'll just make this announcement real quick for those just joining us. We're not taking any verbal questions, so you don't need to raise your hand. We're putting everything into the Q&A so we can get through as many Q&As as possible.
You know, one thing that I will talk about is the cost share on the medical. One of the things that people keep saying is that we negotiated an increase to the medical, and that's the 10% increase to the monthly premium that happens each year. Now that came into our contract in 2011. That wasn't new. Came in 2011 on that extension on the 737 MAX. It was continued on the 777X extension in 2014, where they increased the monthly premiums in 2017. They re-implemented the 10% increase to the monthly premium in 2018, but they applied a cap of 16%. And that cap, once we were sharing the cost of medical by 16% is paid by our members and 84% was paid by the company, that's a percentage of the cost. And you all know that healthcare costs rise every year. And so the lever that they have in the contract since 2011 to increase our cost to maintain at that 16% was the 10% a year increase. Now, the 16% cost share has served us well in ensuring that they couldn't increase the monthly premiums by 10% every year. In fact, some years it forced them to lower the monthly premiums. And in this case, we were able to reduce the cost share from 16% to 15%, which lowered the monthly premiums by 9.3% for each tier. It doesn't stop that there was already and remains a 10% increase on the monthly premium, but that's limited by the cost share of 15%. So we didn't negotiate a new increase. We absolutely negotiated a decrease in the cost our members pay, but we have to evaluate it every year. And we've done that since that came in an effort to make sure they can't charge us more than we should.
And real quick, I just put together a one slide that kind of explains if you're a traditional medical plan employee only, you're currently paying $51.32 a month. It's going down based on the 16% cap to, or the 15% cap to $46.53 in January 2025. And then it has a potential of going 10% of that $46.53, which would be $4.65 more for 2026, which would bring it to $51.18. And then again, the potential of going to 10%, which is 5. So over the full life, worst case scenario for employee only on a traditional medical plan, it could go from $51.32 to $61.93. That would be the worst case scenario. Our economists also put all of the different plans and the different levels and stuff on our strike proposal page, made a document right at the top right if you want to check out your specific example. Right. Felipe, what is the current trade value for a machinist versus when the pension was taken away? If I'm not mistaken, this number is the reason why we're not likely to get the pension back, correct?
Can you repeat the question?
It says, what is the current trade value for a machinist versus when the pension was taken away? If I'm not mistaken, this number is the reason why we're not likely to get the pension back, correct?
I'm not sure what he's referring to by trade value.
Maybe a trade-off. Heidi, 21203 wire assemblers haven't had a grade increase since 1997. We build more sophisticated parts. We should be a grade 6 today. We are more skilled than in the past.
I understand.
Ray, why are we not given a list of pros and cons of the contract? We need to also be educated on what we are losing as well to make an informed decision.
Well, we put everything out, all the changes, and there's 2 takeaways left. One is a probationary period of 60, potentially 90 days for new hires after ratification, and an 18-month hold for new hires. They can't be released to a different job for 18 months, but once they get past the 18 months, then they're back to the 12 months like everybody else. The other takeaway that was frustrating, I think more so for everyone, was the requirement to call in prior to the start of your shift. That was completely removed and it went back to book, so we no longer have that. Those are the takeaways. There was one other bit of confusion around military leave. We absolutely still have military leave in our contract. In fact, the military leave handbook has better pay structure than what our contract provided. So we referenced the military leave handbook and the date, which provides full pay for the 10 days of training. It provides differential pay for up to 5 years, which those were greater than what was in the contract. There is a difference that you can only do one set of training, the 10 days training, in a fiscal year. And we used to be able to do 20 days in one calendar year, but no more than 20 days in 2 calendar years. So that's the difference we have there. But those were the negatives.
Okay, Justin, on our last contract, the automotive job code was outsourced. Are there any provisions in this contract that protect the active job codes from outsourcing going forward?
Yeah, LOU 2 was updated with the best job security language that we've ever been able to achieve there. We actually required them to maintain the jobs that we have. And before, we only had the protection that you couldn't be laid off due to outsourcing, which didn't force them to replace people that left due to retirement or quit or termination. And it was the death spiral. Now they have to maintain the headcounts in the life of the agreement, which is a big improvement in LOU 2. So that's a protection. We were also attempting to force increases in those headcounts. We didn't get an increase in those headcounts, but they do have to maintain them, which means replace people that leave.
Scott, I understand that the membership wants the pension, but at what cost? People are going to lose their jobs by holding out. Our leadership needs to reiterate this and move on from it.
I hear you.
Heather, if this contract goes through and we start getting vacation time as we earn it, what will happen? I'm supposed to roll over 11/7. Will I get that dumped as well as starting to accrue?
Yeah, it should deposit. Anything you have in your bank should be eligible to be used. And every payroll, whatever you accrue during that payroll cycle, will then be deposited for use.
Ben, in regards to the new job code created that is a grade 5 for those currently in the 61003 code, who actually gets the upgrade? Expeditors?
It will be some expediters, not all. It will also be those that are performing what kind of mirrors shop coordinator type work. And we expect to see probably around 200 upgrades is what we were looking at from grade 3 to grade 5.
Eric, our grade 9 AMTI still get an upgrade to a grade 10?
Yes.
Andrew, question that wasn't answered from yesterday was the progression addressed. 50 cents every 6 months was approved since 1999. Why was this not updated? Should be $1-2 minimum on top of lead pay, and 6-year max should be addressed as well.
I don't disagree. We attempted to address all those items. We weren't able to shorten the 6 years, and we weren't able to get more than the 50 cents. Both sides began to focus on overall general wage increases for everyone, but I agree with you 100%. We just didn't get there.
Jennifer, thank you for having another Zoom meeting. Prior to the strike, I had approved vacation scheduled through 11/4. I will be out of the country. The proposal states I need to be back on 10/31, at least at the latest, to receive 5,000 to the 401k and also the 7,000 for the ratification joke bonus. Am I am I an exception having pre-approved vacation on the books? I need a definitive answer.
I don't have a definitive answer. You'll have to get with, if this ratifies, you'll have to get with your boss. We will be trying to get some clarification on some of those items, but I don't have anything other that's in the strike settlement agreement. They say that those that had vacation scheduled, let's see. You would get, basically first dibs on getting vacation. But I don't have something specific to, do you get to stay out past the 31st? Right now, I don't.
Harold, if we absolutely won't get the pension back, I want Boeing to do a lot, expletive, better in helping me get that 401k set for my retirement.
Thank you, Harold.
Cody, as a grade 7 with 1.5 years of progression, if this contract was ratified, what would my pay be? For the sake of this question, please ignore the COLA and any extra growth. Simply day one, what is my hourly rate?
Well, you take your hourly rate today and you take out your calculator and you plug in your hourly rate and you put in plus 12%, and that would be what your pay goes to.
Right now, the minimum for grade 7 is 27. So if it falls below that, after doing what John just said, then you'd be moved to a minimum of 27.
Yeah, it's hard for me to do that without knowing what your pay is right now.
Oh, do I need to go to my work location to vote, or can I go to closest one to my house? I work in Everett and live in Snoqualmie.
You can go to the closest location to your house.
Clark, will the Aetna Medicare Advantage Plan be available to the spouse of the Boeing employee?
I'll have to look that up. I believe it's available for the member. Let me
Joe.
I'll have to look that up.
It is, once it's available.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Hey, Richard, the Medicare plan, does the employee have to be at the company until January of 2026? Or if they retire before that, can they apply for it after January 26? The wording seems vague the way it's written, Medicare plan.
The Medicare Advantage plan will be available for anyone that retires during this contract. So if they retire after we ratify this agreement, but before it becomes available, and then they go, depending on their age, and go through retiree medical, they would have eligibility for it later. They don't have to retire after it becomes available.
Stephen, why is it difficult to implement a majority of the general wage increase in the first year to address concerns about rising inflation affecting expenses such as mortgages, gas, food, etc.?
Well, it's more about bargaining. We attempted to get as much as we could in year one. And, when you bargain agreements, typically the employers won't put everything in year one as much as we want it, as much as you want it. They would only agree to, break it up over the 4 years, which is typical in, union agreements. But we tried for as high as we could in year one.
Kind of already answered this, but Matthew, how does the pay raise affect someone who is, let's say, 2 years in? Do we lose the progression raises we already got?
You don't lose any progression you already got, but you apply the 12% to your actual pay. And as Ed said correctly, if you are still below the new minimum for your labor grade, then you'd go up to the new minimum. If you're above it, then that's where your pay will be.
Yes. Was there any talks regarding Moses Lake site? If anything, if so, what was discussed?
We attempted to discuss permanent statement of work there. They wouldn't engage on what the future is for Moses Lake. And I know for many, you would like to continue to work there and stay there. And the company, and you all have built a very experienced workforce there in Moses Lake. I really still believe and will continue to push for it, but they weren't going to bargain over the topic.
Ben, have there been any talks about progression being made by hours worked versus years of service? Kind of like the apprenticeship program.
We attempted to add, overtime. And so instead of a 6-month period, it would be 1,040-hour period. And if we worked overtime and maybe I reached 1,040 hours, sooner, we attempted to do that, but we didn't make any headway on shortening progression or increasing the amount per progression step.
David, with the sign-on bonus in mind, why 7,000 and not 10,000? Not that this will sell the deal, but I'm just curious.
It's just money. We attempted to get 10,000 actually, and they were only willing to increase it up to 7,000. But they did go 5 more into the 401k at the same time. Now, a little bit on those ratification bonus and the 401k. So it's for active employees that return before their shift on October 31st. If you return after, you're not eligible. It's for those on a leave of absence as of September 12th of 90 days or less, or if it's a military leave of absence of any length, would be eligible. And you do not have to return. If you're on a leave of absence, you do not have to return before October 31st, as long as you're on an approved leave, and that your leave, if not military, was 90 days or less on September 12th, or again, military leave of any length.
Hey, Bill, question VSP Vision, no chance at all. Also, thank you for the bump in pension per month. I think this, at this point, 39 employee, this is a very good deal for all. Lots of money on the table, 4 more years work. Needs also, company knows that there's a level playing field. Okay, statement. Where's my moderators? Narcisco, why does John does not seem to have the fight, and what's the results in the survey?
I don't know why someone would think I don't have the fight. We've been fighting for 10 years to get to this point. We've been fighting to pick up the pieces of this district from, 2014 forward. We worked hard to place our membership in a position of strength like they've never had in the past. And we've got some of the best things we've ever had. We didn't get everything. So I would tell you, I still got the fight. And this is up to our members. That's my obligation. Tell you the truth and put it in your hands.
Greg, why haven't we seen any noticeable changes with our medical coverage?
We were able to reduce the cost share from 16% to 15%. We were not able to, address individual cost structure for individual services. But once you started doing that, what you would have done was simply increase the company's share, which would have then led to an increase on our monthly premium. So we began to focus on reducing the overall cost share of the plan from 16% to 15%.
Ryan, what are top 3 results of the survey? Why are the highest priorities of those results? We have the upper hand and can get everything we deserve from the company. Why do you tell the media this is the best you can do for us?
Well, when I talk to the media, our job is to get the best we can in bargaining. At some point, I've got to put it in your hands, right? And that's what we're doing. I've got 33,000 members that have strongly stood together on strike, and my job is to get the best I can and have you make the decision. So that's where we're at.
Pedro, what is our out-of-pocket cost for prescriptions going to be on this new proposed contract?
I don't have that, Joe. I don't know. Do you have that information handy?
Pretty sure it's the same as it has been.
Yeah, there was no increases. We did update numbers to current numbers, and some perceive that to be an increase, but it's what it was currently.
Sorry, can you repeat that one?
Says, what is our out-of-pocket cost for prescriptions going to be on this new proposed contract?
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same. Perfect. Jason, wondering if you believe we can get the pension back.
You know, they haven't budged on it. And it was always going to be a tall order to get the pension back. I feel you deserve a pension. I feel that it's a righteous fight to go after it. I can't tell you that we can get it. And that's where I'm going to leave it.
Yeah. Why is grade A pay still low? How come everyone else pays higher?
So the factory service attendant grade A was created in 1995. The company was threatening to outsource the janitorial and have it be a contractor perform the work. And the union at the time fought to maintain our janitorial members in our membership because they get paid more than an outside contractor. They have better medical than an outside contractor. They have more money that goes into their retirement than an outside contractor. They have opportunities to advance through educational benefits to get into a higher graded, more responsible job, higher paying job. When that came in 1995, anyone at max pay, general wage increases would only be paid out in a lump sum, would not go on their max pay. Only COLA increases would go on their max pay. And so this is the first time we actually got a COLA to apply to their max pay, those at max pay. So this 12% GWI increased their wages, the highest increase in decades. But I want to maintain this group in our membership, and I want them to have opportunities to grow into other jobs.
Okay, Chris, has there been any discussion about the A&P premium being brought up to industry standards?
There was a lot of discussion. They wouldn't move off of the premium that they had increased it to $1.25 per license. We had much discussion. We were able to increase the AMTIs, AMTs to grade 10, but we weren't able to get an increase in the license. But the positive thing about an increase from a 9 to a 10, it does address everybody in the job code, not just those with the AMP license.
Aaron asks, is there a way to take the 5K contribution to the 401k as a cash option instead? Have it added to the ratification bonus?
There is not. I can't do that. You have all rules under taking hardships from your 401k. I don't recommend it, but that 5K is going into the 401k.
Colleen, can you clarify how the medical works? Minimum of 10%, max of 15. What is the percentage based off of? I think you already answered that.
Yes.
Okay. Cedric, is overtime still 1 week and no back-to-back designation?
Yes. Yeah, that was the reduction in the designated overtime is only 1 week in a row, and they can't blanket designate 12s during the week.
Joshua, how can you allow the company to screw over people on the signing bonus and 5K 401k deposit because they're on a work-related injury? You expect people to return back to work before they're healed?
I attempted to get the company to, expand eligibility for any leave of absence for any length of time on an approved leave of absence. They wouldn't do it. I had even had discussions today to try and get them to do it, and they wouldn't move on that issue.
Brandon, is 401k match based on all hours worked or just base 40 per week?
The 401k match, the 100% of 8% is based off of the straight time pay or 40 in a week. The SCRC is based off of all hours, which includes overtime, but the match on the 401k, the 8 for 8 is not on all hours.
Hey, Michael, why aren't we focusing more on the SCRC if we can't get pension?
We did attempt to do that, and we also had looked at other options as well.
Joe, if this offer is rejected tomorrow, any gut feeling on how long we would wait for the next offer?
All I can say is, our members will be done, and we will get back to the table as quickly as we can and try to push for the things that you all deserve.
Ken, I put in 5 years as a grade 4, then took the VLO to go back to school. I have since returned as a grade 9. Would my 5 years as a grade 4 now count towards maxing out as a grade 9.
I'm gonna say I don't believe so because you had, took the velo.
Voluntary layoff. Ralph, 1, why will Ortberg not speak to union members directly? 2, what about need for changes in safety protocols?
You know, I don't know why, he won't. You know, I hope that we can have, future discussions, but really, my concern is always with engaging with our members. I need to know more about, safety protocols, though. I don't know specifically what you're talking about.
But I think that language that we did get for the, be part of their safety quality stuff going forward will be helpful.
Okay.
Chad, if the contract is ratified, do we get strike pay for the 25th?
Yes. Wait, I'm gonna have to defer. I think if we go back to work on the 25th, we don't get strike pay. We don't get strike pay. That's right.
Garrett, I am currently a grade 9, 97109, and the contract has us as 97110 for grade 10. How does this affect my current pay with 3 years of seniority? Less than 3 years of seniority. I see nothing in the contract about adjustment of pay for labor grade change.
Well, there should be an increase for an increased labor grade. Dan, I don't know, do you have a,
75 cents for each labor grade up, or how did
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they would get the promotion up.
and your progression, of course, would count, from the grade 9 to anything earned in the grade 10.
Cody, last question. Why is our pension being deemed as ULP?
I don't know that anything's being deemed as ULP. That's unfair labor practice. I don't quite understand that question.
Erwin, there's a lot of misinformation. Are we able to roll over our 401k into another eligible plan like an IRA before 59.5 years of age?
My understanding is that once you leave the company, you're able to move the 401k into another protected plan like that. I don't believe you can do that while you're active, but I'll defer to Joe if he's got a better answer.
Right now, that's the plan rules that Boeing has set. So yeah, 59.5, you can make a rollover to a qualified plan.
Is that while you're an active employee?
Well, an active employee. If you leave the company prior to that, you can do that at any point.
Okay, thank you for that.
Also, any rollover would stop any company contributions for a period of 6 months.
Okay, thank you.
Sawyer, team lead pay increase has not seemed to be a priority. Why is that?
Well, it was a priority for us, along with about 500 other priorities. And, you know, we did attempt to get it increased. I thought the company would do that. I thought that was an easy thing for them to do, and they refused to do that.
Just time permitting, we're at about an hour now. How much longer you want to go? I know you got district council tonight.
Keep going.
Richard, what's happened with all the money being donated to the strike fund?
Well, the donations aren't going to the strike fund. They're going to the hardship fund. And then as people come into the hall and ask for a hardship help, that's what that money is for. And that's what it's for specifically, to give out to members who are in dire straits.
Paul, if this contract is a no, can we concentrate on getting at least 20% wage increase in the first year? 12% just doesn't make any sense because of where we are with inflation.
We'll do the best we can, you know, on all the issues. I mean, there's a lot of issues our members care about.
Willie, why didn't we pursue the union saving plan? If we wasn't going to get pension, we would have got something in its place.
Well, we attempted the machinist retirement savings plan. We got a $2 an hour contribution into that. The goal with that was long-term, to continue to grow that over years, over generations, and try to get it up to $3, $4, $6, $8 an hour. That's what the goal was. It was misunderstood, and it wasn't worth the battle. So we focused on match. We focused on SCRC. That's where it went.
Okay, Jermaine, did union bring up an increase to the airframe and power plant license premiums during bargaining?
Yes, we did.
Come on, moderators. Dan, I just have a newborn before the strike. During that time, I took 1 week off with my baby and then strike comes. I just wonder, can I apply for state paid while we are on strike and receiving strike paid at the same time?
Yes, you can. And you should have already.
Phil, just asking for my fellow brothers and sisters in
Sisha.
Sisha, our grade 2, but we are seeing if we are getting a grade upgrade.
There was no upgrade for Sisha monitors.
Shirley, does this contract keep work in the Northwest?
It does. You know, the job security piece that is a bit misunderstood. You know, if for the first time we put language in our contract that says if they launch an airplane during the life of it, they have to place it here. And it's not just final assembly, it's wings, it's fabrication, it's interiors, wiring, and major components, and it's worth thousands of jobs. Now, if they don't launch it during the life of this agreement, it's still in our contract, and we get a fight for it. We might have to fight for it in the future, but by not having that language in 2011 and or 2014, they used that to threaten our members, put our members in a horrible leveraged position. And, you know, now we have something that will not allow them to do that. And that's a very good protection going forward.
Right, from Bradley, on the floating holiday, do we get paid at the end of the year if we don't use it? Can we call in to use it, then work that day to achieve double time plus holiday pay?
No, on both of those. You can't get cashed out for it, and you use it one time a year, and you can't use it on a holiday to get you know, paid time and then holiday time. So you also need to request it with 5 days notice.
Gosh, out of the 33,000 IA members, how many are actually voting on the survey?
We usually don't reveal the numbers. We have a massive turnout on our surveys, though.
David, if we will be back to work on next Thursday, October 31st, do we need to use vacation to cover these dates?
You mean prior to October 31st?
You mean
The
that's-
answer is no.
So from the 25th to the 31st, no.
Yeah,
Right.
no. But you got to be back before your start of your shift on the 31st.
Manthara, how does the pension early withdrawal work?
There's a formula that's based off of the IRS code that will determine if you wanted to cash out your vested BCERT benefit, what it's worth. And it depends on how many years of service you have. It depends on how old you are. And you'd need to talk to a financial advisor. We're not going to give you advice on whether it's the right decision, how much it's going to be worth. That's something that you need to talk to a trusted financial advisor on. I'm not here to promote it. You don't have to make that decision now. You don't have to do it at all. But you definitely need to talk to a trusted financial advisor.
It's an option. Chris, do we need to notify our managers when we will start work if the vote passes?
No, you just need to be back before the start of your shift on the 31st, unless you're on an approved leave of absence.
John, are we still proposing to eliminate designated weekend overtime? 1 weekend in a row is still too much. It needs to be our decision. The new limits proposed will be better for people who want to volunteer.
There's no ability for us to change this proposal. Right now, it does have a limit designated overtime on the weekend to 1 weekend in a row. It's a big improvement over what we had before. And we also tried to focus on weekday overtime. And what we were able to do is get rid of blanket 12s. And that's where we're at.
Skylar, if we use time or LWOP on the 31st, how will that affect employee?
I would say you need to come back prior to the start of your shift on the 31st. If you don't, they will consider you to have resigned, unless you're on an approved leave of absence.
Mark, why are we not given 2 weeks to return to work? We have temp jobs.
This is all we were able to get. I wanted to give the people the opportunity to come back as quickly as possible, but I couldn't get it extended out into November. I did try.
Tony R. Stranger using compound GWI as a selling point. Never seen this mentioned in the past contracts extensions. Looks like you're trying to make 35% look better than it is. Also, if they're unwilling to budge on the pension, we need to get creative. 5K towards 401K is a step in the right direction, but we need something like that every year on top of our bonus.
I hear you. There's no misinformation on the compounded rate, but it is important. It is the truth. That's what I owe you, is the truth.
Are the raises only for people who are maxed out, or do they apply to everyone?
They apply to everyone. So if you're not at max, if you're in progression, the 12% goes on your actual pay.
Charlie, for security clearances pay, if you hold a clearance, are you eligible for the pay additive? If not, what exactly qualifies you for the pay additive?
It has to be a security clearance that the company recognizes. I mean, we might have members that have a security or had a security clearance in the military, but it's not something that's applying today. It has to be something that you're utilizing and you'd be eligible for the pay additive.
So utilizing that's part of your job currently, right? So if you had a security clearance, but you're not doing that type of work, then you wouldn't.
That's right.
Good. Eric, how will vacation accrual work if mid-year?
They should give you access to all of your vacation, and then every bit of accrual in each pay period would then be deposited in your account every pay period.
John, why is the union choosing not to make a recommendation on the contract?
I told the company if they didn't give the defined benefit pension, that I am not going to make a recommendation. I think there's a lot of positive things in here, but my job was to get the best I could, place it in front of our members, and that's what we're doing. And I couldn't recommend it. I'm also not recommending rejection, but it's in your hands. There's a lot of positive things. We didn't get everything, but it's for you to decide.
Contract is approved. Will people who signed up for COBRA still need to pay the premium due 45 days after October 1st?
I would say if you haven't paid it yet, you don't have to. And if you did pay it, you'll be reimbursed that payment.
Lonnie, I see in the proposal that every craft is mentioned in the wording for tank line pay except crane mechanics. I am a crane mechanic that has 80% of my work in the tank line. Why am I not eligible for tank line pay?
That's what we were able to achieve for the tank line pay. Those classifications that were listed, we didn't get it for crane mechanics.
Marcus, why have Kelly, our CEO, and John, our president, not met with each other during these negotiations?
Well, we did meet early before, in August and prior to on the last day of bargaining, but we haven't met since the strike. Look, our focus has been on what our members need on our strike, trying to get every bit of leverage we can. And that's all I'm concerned about.
Anthony, with the new progression change, will a person that had 5.5 years and had to take the velo and leave of absence because their dad got sick, hired back 3 years later, now total time I have is 7.5 years, will it max me out?
No, not if you took the velo. We don't get credit for progression after leaving the company in that fashion, or a resignation or a termination.
Ralph, has Ortberg been informed the employees are not cowering, referring to McNerney?
I think he knows, and I'm proud of this membership. I'm proud of your stance, and I know that he knows how strong you are.
Right. Tracy, Why is it fair for someone that has been on medical LOA for 90 not qualify for the bonus in the 401k? My husband had surgery and had to take care of him, and because we are out, we don't qualify for this. We were at work 9 months out of the year.
I understand. We tried to get them to do it for, all leaves of absence of any length, and they wouldn't. This is what we've pretty much had in most contracts, and this is what we got stuck with. Okay, a couple more questions, Ed.
Jennifer, can you send out a transcript from today so questions that are duplicate, people can get the answers for by reading the transcript? Is there a transcript from yesterday's call? When will update the list of FAQs be available?
I don't think we have a transcript of all the questions, but we do have a Q&A out there, and we'll try to get some of these updated.
We have I can get a report of the questions asked, but not necessarily the answers given. Okay. Oh, does a new one set progression count towards years for factory service attendants or just grade 1 to 11?
It's for everyone, including factory service.
One more. I noticed two things when the offer was announced. Boeing didn't say this was best and final offer, and the IM only said that it was for your consideration. This leads me to believe that both Union and Boeing doesn't have the confidence in it or passage. Any comment?
I don't have a comment on that.
That's where we're at. We still got 678 in the queue. So,
Okay, I think what I'll do is just simply wrap it up. I want to thank everyone that's been holding the line, everyone that's been picketing. Many of you have been doing this 3 and 4 times a week. I want to thank everyone that's been a picket captain, helping in the kitchen, being a van driver. You have been doing what many have not been willing to do. You've been standing the line and sending a strong message, and that's what got us here. And I want to also thank this entire membership. We've come a long way. There is a lot of success here, and I realize we didn't get everything we wanted. It's up to you. The members will vote tomorrow, and we'll see how it all turns out. But I just want you to know we can be proud of ourselves. You can be proud of yourselves for everything you've accomplished. Thanks, everyone.